Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 3rd Maccabees, the 3rd chapter. Now, in the 2nd chapter, right, you basically had in Ptolemy the Fourth Philopator, as he tried to go into the holy place. The Lord ends up striking him with a temporary paralysis. When he recovers, he threatens the Jews, and then he goes back to Egypt and decides to now make their life hell. Verse 3, when the godless Philopator learned of this, he became so enraged that not only was he angry at those Jews in Alexandria, but he also was very bitterly opposed to those living in the countryside. And he learned that you had some Jews that were bribing their way out of, getting initiated, right? Taking the branding of Dionysus. They were also looking at the Jews that deserted their ways as, traitors. So when he heard about this, it says he was upset. He gave an order that they should all be gathered together at once into one place and killed by the most brutal means possible. While these plans were being put into action, some people plotted to injure the Jewish nation by circulating a hostile report against them on the pretext that the Jews were hindering others from practicing their own customs. So the king already has this evil plan against them, and then you had some that were opposed. They hated, the Israelites, and so they decided to also start spreading rumors about, they gotta go. Like, look, they're stopping people from following their customs. Like they're not. It's not good for us. But the Jews maintaining goodwill and unswerving loyalty toward the royal house. While they worshiped God and conducted their lives according to God's law, they kept themselves separate in the matter of foods, right? So there are certain things they wouldn't eat, right, that were abominable. For example, pork, shrimp, X, Y, and Z. For this reason, they appeared hostile to some people because of their separate way of living. But they had established a good reputation with everyone through their lifestyle of doing the right thing. Now, even though the Jews' good deeds on behalf of the nation were commonly talked about by everyone, those of other races didn't take these into account. So even though everybody knew, like, hey, like these guys, they stick to themselves, they don't bother people, they do good. But these other nations, which were in there, they didn't care about that. Instead, they kept harping on the differences in worship and diet, and claimed that the Jewish people were loyal neither to the king nor to the authorities, but were hostile and strongly opposed to the royal administration, and so they placed significant blame on the Jews. Remember, you have native Egyptians, you have Edomites, and the Edomites, which are calling themselves Pharaoh, they're practicing some of these Egyptian customs and so on and so forth, also introducing their Greek gods, sort of merging this right in there. And they're saying that, well, these Israelites that are over here, they're just way too different. Like they don't eat the same, they act different, they do all this special stuff, they got the Sabbath, and it's just too much. No, we can't do this. So they took advantage of the fact that the king was already against the Jews, and they decided to also fan the flames of that fire. But the Greeks in the city, who hadn't been injured in any way, saw the unexpected turmoil surrounding these people and the purposeless mobs that were forming. Although they didn't have the power to offer assistance, for they lived under tyranny, they tried to encourage the Jews. So you had some that were in Alexandria, and they said, this is BS, man. Like this is unfair. But they couldn't really do much. So at least with words or whatever means they could, they tried to keep, the Jews in good faith. They were grieved and assumed that these circumstances would change for the better, because so great a community shouldn't be left to its fate in this way, since it had done nothing wrong. So even those that were around could bear witness that, this is an unjust treatment, right, against the Jews in this region. Already some neighbors and friends and business associates secretly drew them aside and promised that they would fight by their side and make every effort to assist them. But the king took pride in his present success and disregarded the authority of the supreme God. Assuming that he would continue in the same plan without hindrance, he wrote this letter against the Jews. King Ptolemy Philopator, to his generals and soldiers in Egypt and in every place, greetings and good health. Both I myself and our affairs prosper. After our campaign against Asia Minor came to a successful conclusion, as you yourselves are aware, with the gods fighting alongside us, we thought that we should care for the nations inhabiting Kol, Syria, and Phoenicia, not with the violence of the spear, but with fairness and much kindness, eagerly treating them well. After we had distributed generous funds to the temples in every city, we proceeded also to Jerusalem. We went up to honor the temple of those wretched people who never cease from their folly. They spoke as if they welcomed our presence. But, in fact, they acted in a way that was dishonest. When we wanted to enter their sanctuary and to honor it with the most extraordinary and beautiful gifts, they were carried away by their traditional arrogance and prevented us from entering. They were spared a display of our power because of the kindness that we have toward all people. Which, this is all cap. This is all lies, by the way, right? Like, he's framing this in a way where it makes him look less like the aggressor, and it makes the Israelites look more like the aggressors, and so on. Because when you read, he wanted to go into the holy place. They said this would violate our law. We can't do this, and they were asking him, trying to change his mind. But he's making it seem like they were just like, you better get out of here, you damn stinking Edomite. We don't want your ass, that kind of thing. But they made clear their ill will toward us, as the only one of the nations showing such stiff-necked defiance to kings and to their own benefactors. And what's also interesting about this is, he says that they didn't display their power because of the kindness they have toward our people, neglecting to mention that the Lord struck his ass down and he almost died, and so that's why he had to flee. They aren't willing to receive anything as sincere. But we showed indulgence toward their folly of all these people and returned to Egypt in triumph. We treated all the nations in a kindly way and acted in a manner that was proper. Among other things, we made known to everyone our policy of amnesty toward their fellow Jews here because of our allegiance with them, and with the countless matters sincerely entrusted to them from the beginning. We bravely decided to make a change, to consider them worthy of Alexandrian citizenship, and to make them partners in the regular religious rites. But they received it in a disagreeable manner, and rejected what is good in line with their natural spiteful character. Turning continually to what is worthless, they not only rejected the priceless offer of citizenship, but also showed their contempt by what they said and by their silence for those few Jews among them who favored us with honor, the sellouts. In every case, they suspected, in keeping with their most shameful way of life, that we would swiftly reverse the policy, saying that they thought that, if they just continue to hold their ground, we would back off. Oh, we were fully persuaded indeed by such proofs that these people were ill-disposed towards us in every way. Therefore, we took care, so that if a sudden rebellion should arise against us later, we won't find that we have these evil people at our backs as traitors and uncivilized enemies. We have given an order that as soon as this letter arrives, you are immediately to send to us those Jews who live among you, together with their wives and children, to suffer a certain and shameful death appropriate for enemies. Treat them harshly and abusively, and bind them on all sides in iron chains. Oh, we are sure that when these people have all been punished, the affairs of our state will be established more securely and in a more excellent condition for the future. But whosoever shelters any of the Jews, from an elderly person to a child to nursing infants, will be tortured, household and all, with the most horrible punishments. So he's basically saying, look, all of you who received this letter, you better round up those Jews that you got, abuse them, and bring them to us. And if any of you dare try to help them, we will torture you. It doesn't matter if you are what age you are, we're going to torture you and your whole household. But the one who is willing to give information will receive the property of the person falling under judgment. So, however, if you do sell out, you say you know where a Jew is and he's hiding, guess what? We're going to give you all his belongings once we take care of him. So that's a reward. They will also be given 2,000 drachmen from the royal treasury and will be rewarded with their freedom. But in every place, without exception, where a Jew is discovered to be sheltered, will be laid waste and burned with fire. It will become utterly useless to every living creature for all time. And so the form of the letter was committed to writing. So this was Ptolemy's letter to the people, under his estate, saying this is the order that you got to follow, and if you don't, these are the consequences. And that brings us to the end of the book of 3rd Maccabees, 3rd chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.